What's up, guys? I'm Chris from BS for Build. We're here at SEMA 2019 at the Garrett Turbos booth.
There's a lot that has happened, I think, starting with last SEMA, where we switched over to Garrett Advancing Motion. We spun off, became our own entity, we're our own company. So a lot has happened since then. Starting off with the intercoolers, you know, we have F-150 intercoolers, we have Mustang, we have the new M3, M4 coming, the Civic. So a lot of drop-in intercooler upgrades. So in terms of our booth, we have a brand new booth design. We have a new Huracan with an LS engine, twin GTX 3582 mirrored turbochargers, done by Chris at BS for Build. That did an amazing job. As you know, we had the G25 and the G42 that were released in the past few years, so those are doing great. People are ecstatic about the new G series. Everybody's surprised at how much power it's making and the capability it has. So continuing with the G series, you know, obviously 25 G42. Now, a few months ago, we released a new G30 lineup. You know, more power, bigger wheel sizes. So we have the G30 660 and the G30 770 that are released a few months ago. And for display now, something new to SEMA, we're showing the G30 900 and the G35 1050 as well. So those are coming in Q1 2020. So in terms of the G30, G35 turbochargers, I mean, they've come a long way, starting with the GTX series. So in terms of sizing, they're not that much bigger. We did have to go bigger in terms of compressor A over R for more flow and different turbine A over R sizes. So overall, axial and radial package, they're slightly bigger, but it's not a noticeable difference. So, but it's amazing to see, like, you know, a previous GT35 turbocharger was capable of what, 600-700 horsepower, and now you have a G35 similar size, but capable of up to 1,050 horsepower. That's just amazing. We try to optimize the compressor wheel inducer and exducer. So the exducers have typically stayed the same, but what we try to do is optimize the trim, which is inducer versus exducer. So optimizing the trim gives you the most flow, optimizing the A over R, and different things like that. And of course, the biggest part is the compressor wheel design itself, is the blade shape. So the blade shape, where it's CFD designed, try to optimize the flow, the efficiency using that. So in terms of design, it's very similar to the G25, so that's what we used for both the compressor and the turbine size, and we're just scaling it up. And in terms of the design feedback, in terms of E85 boost and things like that, we try to make it more efficient. So if you have a more efficient turbine wheel, you know, you can run, instead of 25 pounds with the previous generation turbo, you can run 20 pounds of boost and make that same power. So it's basically packaging versus flow. I mean, we try to balance that out. We try to get the most flow out of by not trying to increase the package size too much. We want people to be able to downsize if they need to and get faster spool, or they can use that same size turbocharger but make a ton more power. So basically what we had before in our Gen 2 and Gen 1 GTX sizes were what, 3067, 3071, 3076, and 3582, 3584. So with the new sizes, it's our new nomenclature, right? So we've kept that turbine sizing, so it's still a G25, G30, G35. Everybody's familiar with that. But the second set of numbers is the horsepower rating. It's not the compressor exducer size anymore. So that's why you have an overlap in between the 30900 and the 35900. G30 and G35 sizing will have plenty of options available for people for different power options. We have the G30 660 and the G30 770, which are already released and available. So for Q1 2020, we'll have the G30 900, G35 900, and the G35 1050 available. So in terms of turbine housing options, it'll all be stainless steel. We'll have V-band in and V-band out, 4 different A over R options available for different engine sizes. And then eventually we are gonna have internal wastegate options. We'll have T3 options and T4 divided options available. Other options available, just like standard and reverse. So we started that trend with the GTX Gen 2 turbochargers. So we're working on a lot of stuff for the future. I mean, obviously there's going to be more G-Series turbochargers. I can't say which one, but you can probably guess which ones they are. But we'll have more G-Series turbochargers available coming out all throughout next year.
We like a challenge at BS for Build, so the biggest thing was just we wanted to raise the bar even higher, so we just picked like the highest bar I could even imagine. So it wasn't just twin turbo, it wasn't just LS swap a Huracan, it wasn't just twin turbo, it wasn't just carbon fiber, it wasn't just wide body. So to not only build, restore a car, then swap it, then make it show ready, but also to be capable of doing the drag strip stuff, that was a really big challenge. So we are just normal people, we use normal tools, we don't have anything special in our shop, and working on a Huracan is just like working on any other car, right? It's just everything's more expensive, so mistakes are a little bit more expensive. But once you get over that concept and buying like last minute parts, the mirror on there costs $2,000. It's just ridiculous, But so sometimes you go through those stumbles, but other than that, it's just like working on anything else. Same type of technology, and yeah, some nights you gotta cram really hard. The SEMA deadline is no joke, and amazing team, because it's easy for me, I own the car, I run the show, to say, oh, I'm gonna stay up for 2 days straight, right? But what about the guys, like without them doing the same thing, we wouldn't be here right now. So that was really cool. Unveiling a car at SEMA is a huge, it's a huge rush. It's really cool to see everybody get to see the car at the same time too, because you gotta remember, I'm back home normally behind a camera and then behind a computer. I don't interact with a lot of people that watch my show on the daily. So to get to see, we had hundreds of people here when we pulled this thing, the cover off of that. So it was really, really cool. So the turbo size is so we could, spool fast and have the right size turbo for this car. Up high was a big thing of discussion. When I designed this car and when I started thinking about it in my head, the turbos had to be sticking out of the back. It was just something, it's cool when you do it in the front, but a lot of times it looks like, oh, well, you just did that because you ran out of room. So then you have a mid-engine car and you're like, no, I'm doing this because I can. And that's why they're also facing the other way. So the people from behind you, I mean, seeing this car when you see it drive away is insane. It's insane. You see those turbos spinning away. And yeah, so people from behind you, and if a lot of people want them to be the other way, but it would look, I don't think it would look as good if you turned them around. Yeah. There's a lot of technical issues with mounting your stuff up high. So the turbos have a lot of weight and they're hanging a lot of weight on your exhaust manifolds. So that was a point that we're still test and tuning on, and we may need to rebuild those, we're not sure. But they have a lot of support built within them. Also, running all that piping through there wreaks havoc on your engine bay and the rest of your cooling system. So we had to make sure everything was managed thermally there. And then finally, these are water-cooled turbos. Water doesn't want to stay up high, especially not staying up higher than the rest of the system. So we just went straight to the nitty-gritty of it and built a standalone closed-loop cooling system for those turbos. So the turbo pump, reservoir, and radiator and all that stuff is all standalone. So if something goes wrong, we can continue to test it and tune it and have it not affect the rest of the car. Test and tune, I think, is where we're at right now. As far as the looks though, this is as good as it's ever going to look. The only SEMA magic that we did is we were missing one Lamborghini part, so we had to use a little bit of glue somewhere where you'd rather use a screw. And those are pieces that'll get ripped out when we go back home anyway. So it'll unfortunately only get uglier from here because it's a race car, so we gotta start racing.